Drink up, my love. It'll help you sleep. I stared at my husband Chaik across our dining table in our Koi mansion, watching him slide the teacup toward me with that smile, the same smile I'd fallen for 7 years ago. But tonight, my hands trembled not from fear, but from rage. Because tonight I knew. I knew about the crushed tablets he stirred into my tea. I knew about the offshore accounts bearing my forged signature. I knew about her, his mistress from the bank. And most importantly, I knew that for the past 90 nights, while he thought I was drugged unconscious, I'd been swapping our cups. Every single night. You look tense, Samara, he said, his eyes gleaming with false concern. That tea will help. I lifted the cup, his cup, to my lips and pretended to sip, watching him drink deeply from mine. The one he'd poisoned. The one meant to keep me docile while he stole my family's inheritance. You're right, I whispered, setting down the cup. I do feel better already. As his eyelids began to droop, I leaned forward and smiled. Sweet dreams, husband. I've been waiting 3 months for this moment. Hello, guys. Welcome to my African Tales. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe and share it with your friends, and most important thing, turn your notification bell so you can get informed when I dropped another amazing story. Drop your thoughts and reactions in the comments. What would you do if your spouse tried to kill you and you survive? Will you take a revenge or disappear forever? 3 months earlier, the Lagos morning sun blazed through our bedroom windows as I woke with that familiar fog in my head, thick, disorienting, wrong. My mouth tasted like copper, and my body felt like it belonged to someone else. Again. Easy, baby. You had another restless night. Chaik's voice drifted from the bathroom, smooth as honey. He appeared in the doorway, already dressed in his crisp navy suit, ready for another day at Sterling Heights Investment Bank. I heard you tossing and turning. Maybe you should see a doctor? I pushed myself up, blinking against the confusion. I don't remember going to bed. You fell asleep on the couch. I carried you up around midnight. He crossed the room and kissed my forehead, a gesture that once made me feel cherished. Now it made my skin crawl, though I couldn't explain why. I've got an early meeting. Ngozi will bring you breakfast. After he left, I sat there, trying to grasp at memories that slipped away like smoke. This had been happening for months. Lost time, fragments of conversations I couldn't recall, waking up in different clothes than I remembered wearing. My phone buzzed. A text from my sister Zainab. Still coming to Mama's birthday planning? You missed the last 2 meetings. Are you okay? I stared at the message. I had no memory of missing those meetings. None. That's when the fear truly set in. As a pharmaceutical sales representative for Medifarm Nigeria, I knew the human body. I knew medications, their effects, their symptoms. What I was experiencing wasn't stress or exhaustion. This was something else. That afternoon, I canceled my client visits and came home early. Our house in Ikoyi stood pristine and modern, all glass and white stone, a testament to Chaik's success. Or so I'd thought. Madam, you don't come back? Ngozi emerged from the kitchen, surprise evident on her face. Our housemaid had been with us for 2 years, quiet and efficient. I wasn't feeling well, I said, watching her reaction carefully. Ngozi, have you noticed anything strange about me lately? Have I seemed different? She hesitated, her eyes darting away. Madam, Please. I need to know. You day forget things, she finally admitted in pidgin. Last week, you tell me prepare egusi soup. When I serve you say you never ask me to cook anything. And sometimes. She lowered her voice. Sometimes at night, I hear Oga on the phone when he thinks say you don't sleep. He day talk about money, about papers. He day sound different. My heart hammered. What kind of different? Like person way day plan something way no good. That evening, I moved through the house like a stranger, seeing it with new eyes. Chaik wouldn't be home until late. He texted to say he had a client dinner. I had time. His home office was usually locked, but I knew where he kept the spare key. Inside, everything looked normal. Mahogany desk, leather chairs, framed certificates on the walls. I started searching, not even sure what I was looking for. The desk drawers revealed nothing unusual. Bank statements, investment portfolios, client files. Then I found the locked bottom drawer. It took me 15 minutes and a letter opener to jimmy it open. Inside, a bottle of Rohypnol. 20 tablets missing. My vision swam. Rohypnol, a powerful sedative. A date rape drug. Beneath the bottle, I found a folder. Inside were documents bearing my signature, signatures authorizing the transfer of funds from my family inheritance account. $2 million moved in increments over 6 months. I'd never signed these papers. I'd never even seen them. My hands shook as I photographed everything with my phone. Then I found the text messages on a burner phone hidden behind his law books. How much longer? I'm tired of waiting. Unknown number.
Soon.
Once the last transfer clears, we can be together. She'll have nothing, and they'll think she's losing her mind. No one will believe her.
Chike.
What about the sleeping pills? What if she realizes? Unknown. She won't. I've been increasing the dose gradually. By the time anyone notices, she'll be too far gone. They'll put her in a facility, and I'll have power of attorney. Trust me, my love.
Chike.
The phone slipped from my shaking hands. My love. He had someone else. And together, they were systematically destroying me, drugging me, stealing from me, planning to have me institutionalized. 7 years of marriage. 7 years of trust. All of it a lie. I heard the front door open. He was home early. Frantically, I shoved everything back, relocked the drawer, and slipped out of the office. In our bathroom, I gripped the sink and stared at my reflection. My eyes looked hollow, my skin pale. Amara? Where are you? Chike's voice echoed through the house. I splashed water on my face and steadied my breathing. When I emerged, he was in the bedroom, loosening his tie. There you are. Rough day. His smile was perfect, concerned, loving, completely false. Just tired. I managed. Well, I'm home now. Let me make us some tea. We can relax together.
Tea.
The word hit me like a physical blow. The nightly ritual I'd thought was sweet. Him, preparing chamomile tea for both of us before bed. Me, always falling asleep shortly after. That sounds perfect, I heard myself say. I followed him downstairs, watching as he moved through our kitchen with practiced ease. He filled the kettle, prepared 2 cups. I stood in the doorway, observing every movement. When his back turned to get honey from the cabinet, I saw it, his hand dipping into his pocket, pulling out a small pill, crushing it quickly against the counter, sweeping the powder into 1 cup. The cup he would give to me. Time seemed to slow. I watched him stir both cups, watched him turn with that loving smile, watched him extend the drugged tea toward me. Here, my love. This will help you sleep. I took it, my hand somehow steady despite the screaming in my mind. We moved to the living room, sitting together on the couch like we had 1,000 times before. Drink up, he encouraged, sipping his own tea. I raised the cup to my lips, pretending to drink while barely letting the liquid touch my mouth. Beside me, Chike relaxed, satisfied. You know I love you, right? He said softly. Everything I do is for us. I know, I whispered, and in that moment, watching this man I'd vowed to spend my life with, I made my decision. I wouldn't confront him. I wouldn't run. I wouldn't fall apart like he expected. I would be smarter. I would be patient. I would destroy him the same way he was trying to destroy me. Chike, I said, my voice already slurring as I pretended the drugs were taking effect. I'm so sleepy. That's okay, baby. Just rest. I'm right here. I let my eyes drift closed, let my body slump against the couch cushions. Through my barely open eyelids, I watched him watch me, waiting, making sure I was completely unconscious. Then he stood, pulled out his phone, and made a call. She's out. Come over. We need to finalize the next transfer. I lay there, every muscle tense, every sense alert, and began to plan. Tomorrow night, the cups would be switched. And every night after that. He wanted to drug me into submission?
Fine.
Let him drug himself instead. Let's see how well he functions when he's the one losing time, losing memories, losing control. The hunter had just become the prey, and I was going to enjoy every single moment of his downfall. Chapter 2: The Switch. The next morning, I woke up on the couch where I'd pretended to pass out. Chike had covered me with a blanket, such a caring husband. The irony would have been funny if it wasn't so sinister. I found him in the kitchen, scrolling through his phone, that same pleasant mask on his face. "Morning, sleepyhead. You really crashed last night." He set down his phone quickly.
Too quickly.
"I tried to wake you to go upstairs, but you were completely out." "I don't even remember finishing my tea," I said, rubbing my eyes for effect. "This exhaustion is getting worse, Chike. Maybe I should see Dr. Adebayo." "No." His response came sharp, then he softened it with a smile. "I mean, let's wait a bit longer. You know how doctors are. They'll just run expensive tests and tell you it's stress. Give it another week or two. Another week or two of drugging me. Another week or two of stealing from me." "You're probably right," I agreed, watching relief flood his features. At work that day, I couldn't focus. My mind raced through possibilities, plans, dangers. I needed to be smart about this. One wrong move, and I could end up exactly where he wanted me, in a psychiatric facility with no credibility, no access to my money, no life. During lunch, I drove to a small electronics shop in Acadia, far from anywhere I'd normally go. I paid cash for a tiny spy camera, the kind you could hide in a bookshelf or a picture frame. "Not for your house?" the seller asked in pidgin. "My housemaid." I lied smoothly. "Things have been going missing." He nodded, understanding. "Eco work well. You go fit, see everything for your phone." That afternoon, I stopped by my sister Zainab's fabric shop in Lekki. Amara. Finally. She wrapped me in a hug that smelled like shea butter and Ankara prints. "We've been so worried. You've been so distant lately." "I know. I'm sorry." I sat down among the colorful fabrics, trying to find the right words. "Zainab, I need to ask you something. My inheritance from Papa, the account he left me. Do you know how much should be in it?" Her brow furrowed. "Around $2 million, last I checked."
Why?
"Amara, what's going on? I need you to trust me and not ask questions yet."
Can you do that?
She studied my face, and I saw the moment she recognized something was seriously wrong. "What do you need?" "Access to Papa's lawyer. The one who handled the inheritance paperwork. And I need you to not tell Mama or anyone else that I asked." "Amara, you're scaring me."
Good.
"I'm scared too. But I promise, I'll explain everything soon. Just trust me." She squeezed my hand. "Always." That night, I prepared myself mentally. This would be the first switch. The first night of turning his weapon against him. Chike came home at 7, his tie already loosened, that charming smile in place. "Long day. Let's have a quiet evening, yeah? I'll make our tea." "That sounds perfect. Let me just change first." Upstairs, I positioned the tiny camera in our bookshelf, angling it toward the living room where we always drank our tea. Then I changed into comfortable clothes, my heart pounding so hard I was sure he'd hear it. In the kitchen, I watched him through the doorway. Same routine, kettle boiling, 2 cups prepared. His back turned. The pill crushed into 1 cup. The cup he'd hand to me. We settled on the couch. He gave me my cup, the drugged one. I cradled it in my hands, warming them, waiting for the right moment. "You know what I was thinking?" I said, standing up suddenly. "We should look through our wedding photos. I haven't seen them in forever."
Now.
He looked annoyed but tried to hide it. "Just for a moment. They're in the cabinet behind you." As he turned to look, I switched the cups in one smooth motion, placing his drugged tea where mine had been, and taking his clean cup for myself. My hands didn't shake. My breathing stayed even. Years of watching him had taught me to lie with my entire body. "Actually, never mind," I said as he turned back. "I'm too tired tonight. Let's just relax." "Okay, baby." He lifted his cup, the drugged one, and drank deeply. I sipped mine clean, Safe, just chamomile and honey. We sat in comfortable silence, his arm around my shoulders, and I waited. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. You know, Chike said, his words starting to slur slightly, I feel really tired tonight. That's weird. Maybe you're coming down with something? I suggested innocently. Maybe. He blinked hard, shaking his head.
Sorry, love.
I think I need to lie down. His eyes were struggling to focus. The Rohypnol was hitting him hard. He'd probably increased the dose he'd meant for me. Come on. I helped him stand, supporting his weight. Let's get you to bed. But you're not sleepy? His confusion was almost comical. I'm fine. Must be your long day catching up with you. I got him upstairs and onto the bed, where he promptly passed out, snoring softly. Then I went back downstairs, retrieved my phone, and checked the camera footage.
Perfect.
Clear video of him preparing the tea, crushing the pill, everything. I saved the footage to a cloud drive, then sat in his office, going through his files with steady hands and a clear mind. By 3 a.m., I'd found everything. More forged documents. Email chains with his mistress, a woman named Ifioma who worked in his bank's international transfers department. Plans to have me declared incompetent. A timeline, 3 more months of drugging me, then he'd stage some kind of breakdown that would justify institutionalization. I photographed it all. When I finally crawled into bed beside my unconscious husband, I didn't feel afraid anymore. I felt powerful. The pattern continued. Every night for a week, he drugged his own tea while thinking he was drugging mine. Every night, he passed out confused and disoriented. Every night, I gathered more evidence. I don't understand what's wrong with me, he complained one morning, looking genuinely worried. I've been so tired lately. Maybe I should see a doctor. Maybe it's stress? I suggested, hiding my smile behind my coffee cup. You've been working such long hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. I watched him struggle through breakfast, his hands slightly shaky, his eyes unfocused. The Rohypnol was building up in his system. He was experiencing exactly what he'd intended for me. The confusion, the memory gaps, the exhaustion. Karma, I thought, was a beautiful thing. Ngozi caught my eye across the kitchen. She'd been watching too, I realized. She'd seen me switch the cups one night when she came down for water. Later, when Chike left for work, she approached me carefully. Madam, I no go talk, she said quietly in pidgin. When you day do na your business. But I day see yoga. He day try poison you abi. I looked at this young woman who cleaned my house, who'd worked for us faithfully for 2 years. Then I made a decision.
Yes.
He's been drugging me, stealing from me, planning to have me locked away. I met her eyes. Will you help me? When you need, just keep your eyes open. And if anything happens to me, if I suddenly end up in a hospital or a facility, there's an envelope in my car, taped under the driver's seat.
Take it to the police.
To Detective Okafor at the Ikoyi station specifically.
Can you do that?
She nodded solemnly. I go do am. That man. She shook her head. He no good, madam. The way he day look at you when he thinks say you don't sleep, like person way day plan evil. I know. But soon, very soon, he's going to pay for everything. 2 weeks into my campaign, Chike started making mistakes at work. He told me about missing a major client meeting, about forgetting a presentation, about his boss expressing concern. I don't know what's happening, he said, genuine fear in his voice now. It's like my brain isn't working right. Maybe you should take some time off? I suggested sweetly. I can't.
Not now.
We have the Adiemi account, and he stopped confused. Wait, was that this week or last week? I can't, Amara, I can't remember. I touched his face with false sympathy. Poor baby. You really should see a doctor. But he wouldn't. Because seeing a doctor meant blood tests, meant discovery of the Rohypnol in his system. And he was too afraid of what that might reveal. He was trapped by his own weapon, and he didn't even understand why. At night, while he slept his drugged sleep, I continued my work. I contacted Papa's lawyer, who confirmed that yes, There had been suspicious transfers from my account. Transfers he tried to reach me about, but I never responded to his calls. Because I'd been drugged. We can reverse this, he assured me. But we'll need to prove fraud. It won't be easy. I have proof. Lots of it. I just need a little more time. I also hired a private investigator, a discreet woman named Mrs. Okafor, no relation to the detective, who'd been recommended by Zainab's lawyer friend. Find out everything about Ifeoma Nwosu, I told her. Where she lives, who she talks to, her relationship with my husband. Everything. She called me 3 days later. Your husband has been seeing this woman for 18 months. They have an apartment together in Victoria Island.
And
she paused. She's pregnant, Mrs. Okonkwo. For months. The words hit me like a physical blow. Pregnant. He was building a whole new life while systematically dismantling mine. That night, when Chike drank his drugged tea and his eyes began to droop, I leaned in close. You look tired, my love, I whispered. You should rest. Can't understand why so tired. His words slurred together.
Sure.
It's okay. I'm taking care of everything. I smiled. Sleep well, husband. You're going to need your energy. Because I'd finally decided. 3 months. I would give it 3 months total. 90 days of switching cups, gathering evidence, building my case until it was absolutely airtight. And then I would destroy him in front of everyone he loved, everyone he worked with, everyone who thought he was such a good man. I would take back my money, my dignity, my life. And I would make sure the whole world knew exactly what kind of monster Chike Okonkwo really was. By week 6, Chike was falling apart. His hands trembled during breakfast. He'd started keeping a notebook to remember basic tasks, scribbling reminders to himself, like a man losing his grip on reality. Twice, he'd called me by his mistress's name, Ifeoma, then claimed he'd said my dear and blamed his exhaustion. The Adeyemi account fell through. He admitted one evening, slumped on the couch before our nightly tea ritual. I showed up to the meeting a day late. A day late, Amara. I swore it was Tuesday, but it was Wednesday. Mr. Bankole is furious. Oh, Chike. I rubbed his shoulders, playing the concerned wife. Maybe you really should see someone. This isn't normal. No doctors. His response was automatic, fearful. I just need to focus better. Maybe I should stop he caught himself, eyes widening. Stop the what? The late nights. The stress. I'll take some time off. But we both knew he couldn't afford to. Not when he was in the middle of stealing my inheritance. Not when his carefully constructed plan was already in motion. That night, after he drank his drugged tea and stumbled upstairs, his phone buzzed on the coffee table. A text from Ifeoma. We need to talk. The baby's doctor appointment is tomorrow. You promised you'd come. I stared at those words. The baby. His baby with another woman while he was trying to drive me insane. Something cold and hard settled in my chest. I picked up his phone. I'd figured out his password weeks ago by watching his drugged fingers fumble through the pattern and scrolled through their messages. Months of conversations. Plans for their future. Her complaining about being the other woman, and him promising that soon, very soon, he'd be free and wealthy. She's getting worse, he texted 3 weeks ago. The drugs are really working. Soon she'll do something crazy, something public, and then I can have her committed. Then it's just you and me, baby. You and me and our child. I love you so much. I can't wait to be your real wife. Ifeoma had responded. I took screenshots of everything and uploaded them to my growing cloud file of evidence. Then I made a decision. The next day, I called Mrs. Okafor, the private investigator. I need you to follow Ifeoma tomorrow. She has a doctor's appointment. I want to know which hospital, what time, everything. Are you planning to confront her? Not yet, but soon. That afternoon, armed with the information Mrs. Okafor provided, I did something reckless. I went to the hospital, Lilly Medical Center in Victoria Island, and waited in the parking lot. At 2 p.m., a sleek BMW pulled up. Ifeoma stepped out, and my breath caught. She was beautiful, tall, elegant, her pregnancy barely showing under a flowing dress. And she was young, maybe 27. I watched her enter the hospital alone. Chike hadn't come. Too drugged, too confused, too busy trying to hold together his crumbling work life. I waited 30 minutes, then followed her inside. She was in the waiting room, scrolling through her phone with a frown. I approached and sat down across from her, my heart pounding but my face calm. Ifeoma Nwosu? She looked up, startled. Yes?
Do I know you?
Not yet. But you know my husband quite well. I watched her face drain of color. I'm Amara Okonkwo, Chike's wife. She stood abruptly, her bag falling to the floor. I don't know what you're talking about. Sit down, Ifeoma. We need to talk. And trust me, you want to hear what I have to say. Something in my voice must have convinced her because she sat, slowly, her hands protectively over her stomach. I'm not here to fight you, I said quietly. I'm here to warn you. Because Chike Okonkwo is not the man you think he is. You don't know him like I do. But her voice wavered. I know he's been drugging me for months. I know he's been stealing my inheritance. I know he's planning to have me institutionalized so he can access my money and be with you. I leaned forward. What you don't know is that men who drug and manipulate their wives don't suddenly become good husbands to their mistresses. You're lying. Chike loves me. He loves our baby. Does he? Then where is he right now? This is your first real appointment, isn't it? The one where you'll hear the heartbeat, find out if it's a boy or girl. I watched her eyes fill with tears. He promised to be here, didn't he? He's busy with work. An important meeting. There's no meeting. He's at home, confused and exhausted because karma has a funny way of working. I pulled out my phone and showed her a photo I'd taken that morning of Chike, disheveled and lost-looking, staring at his notebook. This is the man you're having a baby with. This is what he becomes when his plans fall apart. What do you want from me? Her voice broke. I want you to understand that you're not special to him. You're useful. You work in international banking, you help to move my money offshore. You're young and pregnant. You'll give him a fresh start. But the moment you become inconvenient, the moment you ask too many questions or want too much. I let the implication hang. Men like Chike don't change, Ifeoma. They just find new victims. She was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. I didn't know about the drugs. I swear. He told me you were mentally ill, that you were making his life hell, that he was trying to help you, but you refused treatment. Of course he did. And maybe part of you suspected he was lying, but you wanted to believe him because you loved him. I understand. I believed him too, for 7 years. I stood up. I'm not asking you to do anything right now, but I want you to think about something. What kind of father drugs his child's mother? What kind of man will raise your baby? Why are you telling me this? She whispered. Because in 3 weeks, I'm going to destroy him. Publicly. Completely. And when I do, you need to decide which side of history you want to be on, the woman who helped a monster or the woman who helped stop him. I left her there, shaking and crying in the hospital waiting room, carrying the baby of a man who was too drugged to remember he'd promised to be there. That evening, Chike came home looking worse than ever. His suit was wrinkled, his eyes bloodshot. Bad day? I asked. He sat down heavily. I forgot about Ifeoma's appointment. She called me crying. I don't even remember her telling me about it. Amara, something is seriously wrong with me. Maybe you're working too hard on too many things, I said carefully. Trying to juggle too much? He looked at me sharply, suspicion flickering across his face. But then it faded, replaced by confusion. The drugs made it hard for him to hold on to thoughts, hard to connect dots. Maybe, he muttered. That night, I made the tea myself. He watched me, surprised. Let me take care of you for once, I said sweetly. You've been so stressed. I prepared both cups openly, adding honey and lemon to both. No pills, no powder. Clean tea for both of us. He drank it gratefully, and for the first time in weeks, he didn't pass out within 30 minutes. His eyes cleared slightly, his body relaxed without the heavy sedation. This is nice, he said, pulling me close. Just us. Like it used to be. Like it used to be, I echoed, letting him hold me, feeling nothing but cold calculation. I'd done this deliberately. One night of clarity so his system could clear slightly so he'd feel like maybe things were getting better. And then tomorrow, I'd switch the cups again, and the nightmare would return, worse than before. Psychological warfare. Keep him off balance, never knowing if he was getting better or worse, unable to identify the pattern because there wasn't one, just my whims deciding his fate. I love you, Amara, he mumbled against my hair. I know, I said. And I did know. He probably believed he loved me, in whatever twisted way men like him understood love. Love that could coexist with betrayal, with poison, with systematic destruction. But I also knew that love without respect, without truth, without basic human decency wasn't love at all. It was just another form of violence. The next 2 weeks were a carefully orchestrated dance. I gave him clean tea randomly, just often enough to keep him hopeful, confused, unable to recognize the true pattern. Some nights he'd sleep normally and wake up thinking he was getting better. Other nights, he'd pass out hard and wake up more lost than ever. Meanwhile, I built my case brick by brick. Papa's lawyer filed preliminary paperwork to freeze the offshore accounts. Mrs. Okafor gathered statements from people at Chike's bank who'd seen him with Iphioma. I collected medical records showing my sudden onset of symptoms that coincidentally started exactly when Chike's Rohypnol prescription, supposedly for his insomnia, began. Yes, I'd found the prescription. Written by a doctor friend of his, someone who owed him money. Another thread to pull. And finally, I contacted Detective Okafor at Ikoyi Station, a stern woman in her 50s who'd built a reputation for taking domestic cases seriously. Mrs. Okonkwo, these are serious allegations, she said, reviewing the documents I'd brought. You understand we'll need to move carefully? Men like your husband, wealthy, connected, they have lawyers. I have everything you need. Video evidence, financial records, text messages, witness statements. I met her eyes. I've been building this case for 3 months. It's airtight. She smiled slightly. You should have been a detective. I'm just a woman who refused to be destroyed. When do you want to move?
Soon.
Very soon. I'm planning something public. I want everyone to see exactly who he is. I leaned forward. Can I count on you to be there when I need you? Text me the time and place. I'll be there with the warrant. On day 87, just 3 days before my self-imposed deadline, everything came to a head. Chike came home early, and he was angry. Really angry for the first time in months. Did you do something to my accounts? He demanded. I tried to access the offshore transfers today, and they're frozen. Frozen, Amara.
Do you know anything about that?
I looked up from my book, calm. Why would I know about your offshore accounts, Chike? They're not my accounts there. He stopped, realizing what he'd almost admitted. They're what? Accounts with my money in them? Accounts you've been moving money into with my forged signature? I set down my book. Is that what you were going to say? His face went white. What are you? You're not the only one who can play games, husband. I stood up slowly. You're not the only one who can plan and scheme and pretend. You knew. His voice was barely a whisper. How long? Long enough. Long enough to document everything. Long enough to turn your weapon against you. Tell me, Chike. How have you been sleeping lately? The realization dawned in his eyes, horror spreading across his face.
The tea.
You've been switching? Oh God. You've been drugging me with my own. With your own Rohypnol?
Yes.
Every night for almost 3 months. How does it feel, my love? How does it feel to lose time, to forget things, to wonder if you're going insane? He stumbled backward, sitting down hard. Amara, I can explain. It wasn't supposed to be like this. We needed. Money? You needed my money? You and your pregnant girlfriend needed my inheritance. I laughed, cold and sharp.
You could have just divorced me, Chike. You could have left.
But that wasn't enough, was it? You wanted everything. My money, your freedom, and me locked away where I couldn't fight back. It wasn't personal. You have to understand, Ifioma and we're in love and the baby needs. Don't. My voice cut like a knife. Don't you dare make this about love. This was about greed. About control. About a man who thought his wife was too trusting, too soft, too easy to destroy. Chike's hands were shaking. What are you going to do? I smiled then, cold and certain. I'm going to finish what you started. In 3 days, we're having dinner at the Eco Hotel with your parents, my family, and your colleagues from the bank. A celebration of our anniversary. And there, in front of everyone you respect, everyone you've lied to, I'm going to show them exactly who you are. Amara, please.
We can work this out.
I'll stop. I'll give back the money. You'll what? Love me again? Like you ever really did? I picked up my phone. It's too late for bargains, Chike. The police already know everything. The lawyers are already involved. The only question now is whether you face this with dignity or you run like the coward you are. He looked at me like he was seeing me for the first time. You've changed. No, I corrected. I just stopped pretending to be the woman you wanted me to be. This is who I've always been. You just never bothered to look. That night, there was no tea ritual. Chike locked himself in his office, making frantic phone calls to his lawyer, to Ifioma, to the doctor friend who'd prescribed him the drugs. And I sat in our living room, calm and ready, counting down the hours until Sunday dinner. Until the reckoning. Sunday arrived with Lagos humidity thick enough to choke on. I woke early and found Chike already dressed, sitting on the edge of our bed, staring at nothing. We don't have to do this, he said quietly. We can cancel the dinner. Tell everyone we're sick. And then what? We just go on living this lie? I adjusted my earrings in the mirror, the gold ones Papa gave me on my wedding day. The irony wasn't lost on me.
No, Chike.
Today is happening. Amara, I'm begging you. If you do this, you'll destroy everything. My career, my reputation, my family. Your family? I turned to face him.
What about me?
What about what you tried to destroy? He had no answer for that. The Eco Hotel's private dining room overlooked the Atlantic, waves crashing against the shore like my heart pounded against my ribs. I'd arranged everything carefully. The seating, the timing, even the witnesses. Detective Okafor sat at a nearby table in plain clothes, pretending to enjoy Sunday brunch with her husband, actually her partner from the station. My lawyer, Mr. Adeyemi, was positioned near the entrance. And the spy camera in my purse was already recording, backed up by the hotel's security cameras I'd made sure would capture our table. Our families arrived first. Mama swept in wearing her best Iro and Buba, Zainab and my brother Emeka behind her. Chike's parents came next, Chief and Mrs. Okonkwo, distinguished and proud, completely unaware their son was a monster. Amara, my daughter. Mama embraced me. You look so thin. Have you been eating? I'm fine, Mama. Just excited for tonight. Chike's colleagues from Sterling Heights Bank arrived, Mr. Bankole, his boss, and several senior managers. They greeted Chike with handshakes, though I noticed their smiles were strained. His recent performance hadn't gone unnoticed. Everyone settled into their seats. Champagne was poured. Small talk filled the air, talk of business, family, the upcoming Christmas season. I caught Zainab's eye across the table. She gave me a small nod. She knew something was coming, though not exactly what. Chike sat beside me, his leg bouncing under the table. He barely touched his wine. A toast. Chief Okonkwo stood, raising his glass. To my son and his beautiful wife. 7 years of marriage, and may you have 70 more. To Chike and Amara, everyone chorused. The irony was suffocating. Dinner was served, jollof rice, grilled fish, plantains moin moin. The best of Lagos cuisine. Everyone ate and laughed and celebrated a marriage that was already dead. I waited until dessert was served. Until everyone was relaxed, full, content. Then I stood, my glass in hand. Thank you all for coming tonight. I began, my voice steady and clear. I know Chike and I are so blessed to have such wonderful family and friends supporting our marriage. Chike's hand gripped my wrist under the table. Amara, don't. I pulled free and smiled at our guests. 7 years is a long time. Long enough to really know someone. Long enough to see who they truly are. My dear, Mrs. Okonkwo beamed. You both look so happy together. Do we? I turned to Chike. Tell them, husband. Tell them how happy we are. His face had gone gray. Amara, please. Not like this. Not like what? Not in front of everyone. I set down my glass. But you wanted an audience for my breakdown, didn't you? You wanted witnesses when I finally snapped, when the drugs you'd been giving me every night made me do something crazy enough to justify locking me away. The table went silent. Absolutely silent. What is she talking about? Chief Okonkwo's voice was sharp. She's been unwell, Chike stammered. I was going to mention it, but I've been unwell because you've been poisoning me. I pulled out my phone and connected it to the portable projector I'd hidden under my seat. Let me show you what I mean. The white wall behind us lit up with video, clear footage of Chike preparing tea, crushing a pill, stirring it into my cup. Gasps echoed around the table. This is from 2 months ago, I narrated calmly. My husband, crushing Rohypnol, a date rape drug, into my nightly tea. He did this every night for months, drugging me, stealing from me, planning to have me institutionalized. This is insane. Chike stood abruptly. She's edited this video. She's trying to frame me because why, Chike? Because I found out about Iphioma? The projection changed to screenshots of their text messages. Intimate messages. Plans for their future. Your mistress. Your pregnant mistress who works at your bank and helped you steal $2 million from my inheritance account. Mrs. Okonkwo made a strangled sound. Mama's hand flew to her mouth. Show them the financial records, I continued, clicking through slides like a prosecutor presenting evidence. My signature, forged on transfer documents. Money moved to offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. All done while I was too drugged to notice, too confused to fight back. That's enough. Chief Okonkwo roared. Chike, is this true? Papa, I can explain.
Is it
true? Chike's silence was answer enough. Mr. Bankole stood slowly, his face a mask of rage. You used our bank for this? You involved our international transfers department in fraud. It wasn't, I didn't mean. Chike was falling apart, exactly as I'd planned. There's more, I said softly. Tell them about your plan, Chike. Tell them how you were going to have me declared mentally incompetent. How you'd already spoken to a psychiatrist friend about getting me committed. How you wanted power of attorney over my assets. You have no proof of that. Actually, I do. Dr. Adelik was very cooperative when my lawyer explained he could face charges for conspiracy. I switched to a recorded statement from the doctor, his face pale and nervous on screen. He details every conversation you had with him about getting me diagnosed as schizophrenic or bipolar, conditions I don't have and never had. Emeka lunged across the table at Chike, held back only by Zainab and one of the bank colleagues. You tried to destroy my sister. And here's the beautiful part, I continued, my voice cold as ice. For the past 3 months, while you thought you were drugging me, I was swapping our cups every single night. You've been drugging yourself, Chike. Every memory gap, every moment of confusion, every time you forgot a meeting or couldn't focus, that was your own poison working on you. The horror that crossed his face was almost worth everything I'd been through. He could barely form words. You watched me. I watched you destroy yourself with your own weapon. Poetic, isn't it? I turned to Detective Okafor, who was already standing, her badge out. Detective, I believe you have something for my husband? Chike Okonkwo, you're under arrest for attempted poisoning, fraud, forgery, and conspiracy to commit false imprisonment. Detective Okafor approached with handcuffs. You have the right to remain silent. The dining room erupted in chaos. Mrs. Okonkwo was sobbing. Chief Okonkwo sat with his head in his hands. Mama was trying to reach me across the table, tears streaming down her face. But I only had eyes for Chike as they cuffed him. How could you be so cruel? He whispered as they led him past me. To let me drug myself, to watch me suffer. How could I? I leaned in close. I learned from the best. You taught me that sometimes, to survive a monster, you have to become something colder, something smarter, something he never saw coming. I loved you, he said, and for a moment, he almost sounded like he believed it. No, I corrected. You loved what you thought I was: weak, trusting, easy to control. You never knew me at all. As they led him away, I turned back to the table, to the shattered families, the shocked colleagues, the wreckage of the life we'd built on lies. I'm sorry you all had to see this, I said quietly. But I needed witnesses. I needed you to know the truth, because men like Chike are very good at making their victims look crazy, at making everyone doubt the woman who speaks up. My daughter, Mama finally reached me, pulling me into her arms. You went through this alone? Why didn't you tell us? Because I needed to be sure. I needed evidence that couldn't be questioned, couldn't be dismissed. And I needed. My voice cracked for the first time. I needed to know I could save myself. Zainab wrapped her arms around both of us.
You did, sis.
You saved yourself. Chief Okonkwo approached slowly, looking decades older than he had an hour ago. Mrs. Okonkwo. I don't know what to say. My son. I didn't raise him to be this. I swear to you, I had no knowledge. I know, Chief. This isn't your shame to carry. I met his eyes. But it is his. And he will face justice for what he tried to do. Mr. Bankole was on his phone, already calling the bank's legal department. Mrs. Okonkwo, Sterling Heights Bank will cooperate fully with the investigation. If our employee Miss Nwosu was involved, she will be terminated and prosecuted. And any money your husband stole will be recovered. Thank you. As the dining room slowly cleared, families leaving in shock, colleagues murmuring about scandal, hotel staff whispering, I stood by the window, looking out at the dark Atlantic. Detective Okafor approached. That was the most controlled takedown I've ever witnessed. You should consider law enforcement as a career. I laughed, though it came out bitter. I just wanted my life back. You did more than that. You built a case that will put him away for years. And you did it without becoming like him. You documented, you gathered proof, you followed the law.
She paused.
A lot of women in your position would have just poisoned him for real. The thought crossed my mind, I admitted. But that would have made me a killer. This way, I'm just a survivor. A survivor who turned the tables beautifully. She handed me her card. Call me if you need anything. And when this goes to trial, you'll have the full support of my department. After she left, I sat alone in the empty dining room, staring at the half-eaten desserts, the spilled champagne, the shattered remains of my marriage celebration. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I saw the news. You were right about everything. I'm so sorry. Ifioma. I stared at it for a long moment, then deleted it. Her apology meant nothing. She'd made her choices, just as Chike had made his. Just as I had made mine. Madam. Ngozi appeared in the doorway. I'd invited her to watch from the hotel lobby, to see the man who'd terrorized her employer finally face justice. You want to go home now? Home. I tested the word. That house in Ikoyi, full of memories and lies. Not yet. Tomorrow, I'll start looking for a new place. Somewhere he's never been. Somewhere clean. I go help you pack, she said firmly. And I go come work for you for the new place if you want. You still want to work for me after all this drama? She smiled. Madam, you be the strongest woman I ever meet. I day proud to work for you. I felt tears prick my eyes. The first real tears I'd let myself cry in 3 months. Thank you, Ngozi. As we left the hotel, walking past the gawking staff and curious diners, I felt something I hadn't felt in months.
Free.
The nightmare wasn't over. There would be trials, testimony, reporters' gossip. There would be hard days and harder nights. But I had survived. I had fought back with intelligence instead of violence, with patience instead of panic. I had taken the poison meant to destroy me and turned it into the weapon that saved me. And that was a power no one could ever take away. Chapter 5. The Reckoning. 3 months later, I stood in the hallway of Lagos High Court, watching lawyers in black robes hurry past with their files and briefs. The building smelled of old paper and stale air conditioning, but I'd grown familiar with it over the weeks of preliminary hearings. Today was the main trial. Today, Chaik would face everything he'd done. You ready? Zainab squeezed my hand. She'd come to every single court appearance, sitting beside me like a sentinel. As ready as I'll ever be. My new apartment in Lekki was smaller than the Ikoyi house, but filled with light and peace. No memories of drugged tea or whispered plots. Just clean spaces and new beginnings. Ngozi had helped me pack only what was truly mine: clothes, books, Papa's photographs. Everything else I'd left behind like the dead skin of a former life. The house itself was in legal limbo, being assessed as part of the fraud case. Let them have it, I thought. Let them sell it and divide the proceeds. I wanted nothing that carried his mark. Mrs. Okonkwo? Mr. Adeyemi, my lawyer, approached with his ever-present leather briefcase. The prosecution is ready. Your testimony will be crucial, but remember, stay calm, stick to the facts, and don't let his lawyer rattle you. I won't. Inside the courtroom, I took my seat. The gallery was packed, reporters, curious onlookers, and both families sitting on opposite sides like a twisted wedding. Mama, Zainab, and Emeka on my side. Chief and Mrs. Okonkwo on the other, looking diminished and ashamed. Then they brought Chaik in. 3 months in custody had changed him. His expensive suits were gone, replaced by simple prison clothes. His face was gaunt, his eyes hollow. He looked like a man who'd finally seen the truth of himself and couldn't bear it. Our eyes met across the courtroom. I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no residual love. Just emptiness where he used to live in my heart. The judge entered, Justice Adebisi, a stern woman in her 60s known for her no-nonsense approach to domestic violence cases. The Federal Republic of Nigeria versus Chaik Okonkwo, the clerk announced. Charges include attempted poisoning, fraud, forgery, conspiracy to commit false imprisonment, and money laundering. The prosecution laid out their case methodically. Video evidence of Chaik drugging my tea. Financial records showing the stolen money. Text messages between him and Ifeoma. Dr. Adelik's testimony about the conspiracy to have me committed. Bank employees confirming Ifeoma's role in the illegal transfers. It was airtight. Overwhelming. Devastating. Then came my testimony. I took the stand, placed my hand on the Bible, and swore to tell the truth. Chaik's lawyer, a slick man named Obi who specialized in defending wealthy criminals, stood to question me. Mrs. Okonkwo, isn't it true that you and your husband were having marital difficulties? Yes. And isn't it true that you suspected he was having an affair? Eventually, yes. So, you decided to take revenge by fabricating this elaborate scheme? His voice dripped with skepticism. By editing videos, forging documents, and making wild accusations. I looked at him calmly. Mr. Obi, every piece of evidence has been verified by multiple experts. The videos were authenticated by forensic analysts. The bank confirmed the fraudulent transfers. The hospital verified Ifeoma's pregnancy. The pharmacy confirmed the Rohypnol prescription in my husband's name. I paused. The only thing fabricated here was my husband's life, his faithfulness, his integrity, his love. But you admit you drugged him back? You switched the cups and deliberately poisoned your own husband. I used his own weapon to protect myself while I gathered evidence to stop him legally. What would you have had me do? Continue being drugged while he stole my money and planned to have me locked away? I leaned forward. I did what I had to do to survive. And I did it within the bounds of the law. I reported everything to the police. I worked with lawyers. I built a case. I didn't run. I didn't kill him. I fought back with intelligence and patience. Intelligence or cruelty. You watched your husband suffer for 3 months. I watched him experience exactly what he intended for me. And unlike him, I documented everything and brought it to the authorities. If that's cruelty, then what do you call what he tried to do to me? The lawyer had no answer for that. The prosecution called Detective Okafor next. She testified about the evidence, the investigation, the airtight nature of the case. Then Mr. Bankel from Sterling Heights Bank testified about the internal investigation that had revealed Ifeoma's role in the fraud. Miss Nwosu has been terminated and is facing her own criminal charges, he stated. She gave birth to a son last month. The child is currently with her family while she awaits trial. A son, Chaik's son, born into a world where both his parents were criminals. I felt a pang of sadness for that innocent child, then pushed it away. That wasn't my burden to carry. Finally, they called Ifeoma herself. She walked in looking nothing like the elegant woman I'd confronted at the hospital. She was thin, exhausted, her eyes red from crying. She'd made a deal with the prosecution, full testimony in exchange for reduced charges. Miss Nwosu, please tell the court about your relationship with the defendant, the prosecutor prompted. Her voice was barely a whisper. We met at the bank 2 years ago. He was charming, attentive. He told me his marriage was over, that his wife was mentally unstable and refusing to divorce him. He said he needed help moving his assets to protect them from her. And you believed him? I wanted to believe him. I loved him. She glanced at Chaik, who wouldn't meet her eyes. He told me once the money was secured, he'd leave her and we'd be together. When I got pregnant, he seemed happy. He said it was a sign, a new beginning. Were you aware he was drugging his wife? She hesitated. Not at first, but eventually, yes. He told me it was just to keep her calm, that she was becoming dangerous. I didn't know he was planning to have her committed. I swear I didn't know the full extent. But you knew enough. The prosecutor cut in. You knew he was drugging her, and you still helped him steal her money. Yes. The word came out broken. Yes, I did. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for everything. I watched her cry and felt nothing. Not satisfaction, not sympathy. Just a distant acknowledgement that she, too, had been played by Chaik's charm, even if she'd been a willing participant in my destruction. The trial lasted 3 days. 3 days of testimony, evidence, and legal arguments. 3 days of my life laid bare for strangers to judge. On the final day, Justice Adebisi delivered her verdict. Mr. Okonkwo, please stand. Chaik rose on shaky legs. I have presided over many cases in my years on the bench, but few have demonstrated such calculated cruelty as this one. You systematically drugged your wife, a woman who trusted you, who built a life with you, with the intention of stealing her inheritance and having her institutionalized. You enlisted your mistress, abused your position at a respected bank, and conspired with medical professionals to achieve your goals. She paused, her gaze hard as steel. The only reason you were stopped was because your victim was smarter, stronger, and more patient than you ever gave her credit for. Mrs. Okonkwo's actions in switching the cups, while unconventional, were done in self-defense and to gather evidence for this prosecution. She did not exceed the bounds of the law. You, however, violated every moral and legal principle. Therefore, on the charge of attempted poisoning, I find you guilty. On the charges of fraud and forgery, I find you guilty. On the charge of conspiracy, I find you guilty. On the charge of money laundering, I find you guilty. Mrs. Okonkwo's sobs echoed through the courtroom. I hereby sentence you to 12 years imprisonment with hard labor. Additionally, you are ordered to repay the full sum of $2 million to Mrs. Okonkwo, plus damages and legal fees. Sterling Heights Bank has agreed to facilitate this restitution. 12 years. He would be nearly 50 when he got out. His career destroyed, his reputation ruined, his son growing up knowing his father was a criminal. As they led him away, Chaik finally looked at me. Really looked at me. I'm sorry, he mouthed. I didn't respond. Sorry wasn't enough. Sorry couldn't give me back the months of terror, the violation of trust, the life I'd had to rebuild from ashes. But justice was something. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Mrs. Okonkwo, how do you feel about the verdict? Do you think 12 years is enough? What's next for you? Mr. Adeyemi guided me through the crowd to a waiting car, but I paused at the top of the courthouse steps. If I was going to move forward, I needed to say this publicly.
Clearly. Once.
I feel relieved, I said, my voice carrying over the crowd. Relieved that justice was served. Relieved that other women who might find themselves in similar situations will see that there is a way out. That you don't have to be a victim forever. What would you say to other women facing domestic abuse or manipulation? I'd say document everything. Trust your instincts. Don't let anyone make you doubt your own reality. And most importantly, you are stronger than you think. You are smarter than they give you credit for. Use that. Do you regret switching the cups? Some people are calling it vigilante justice. I regret that I had to do it at all. But given the choice between being drugged and destroyed, or protecting myself while building a legal case, I'd make the same choice again. Self-defense isn't vigilante justice. It's survival. As we drove away, I watched the courthouse disappear in the rearview mirror. That chapter was closed. Chaik would spend the next 12 years paying for his crimes. Ifeoma would face her own reduced sentence. My money was being recovered, my name cleared. But more than that, I had proven something to myself. I was not the woman Chaik thought he married. Not soft, not weak, not easy to break. I was steel wrapped in silk. A warrior who'd fought with patience instead of violence. A survivor who'd turned poison into power. 6 months after the trial, I sat in my new office at Medifarm, Nigeria. I'd been promoted to regional director, a position I'd earned through years of hard work finally recognized. Ngozi brought me tea, real tea, clean tea, made with care and trust. Thank you, Ngozi. Madam, this package come for you today. She set down a small box. Inside was a book, a journal, leather-bound and beautiful. The note attached read, "For the woman who taught me that justice and mercy can coexist. Thank you for showing me what real strength looks like. Detective Okafor." I opened the journal to the first blank page and uncapped my pen. I'd been thinking about writing my story, really writing it for other women who might need to know they weren't alone. My husband thought he drugged my tea every night, I wrote. He didn't know I swapped our cups 3 months ago. This is the story of how I survived, how I fought back, and how I reclaimed my life. The words flowed easily now. The nightmare was over. The healing had begun. And I, Amara Okonkwo, was finally, truly free. Not because a court had declared it, or because my abuser was in prison, or because my money had been returned, but because I had learned the most important truth. The power to save myself had been inside me all along. I just had to be brave enough, patient enough, and clever enough to use it. Outside my office window, Lagos sprawled in all its chaotic beauty, a city of survivors, of fighters, of people who refused to give up no matter how hard life hit them.
I was one of them now.
Not a victim, not even just a survivor. A warrior. A woman who'd faced poison and turned it into power. And that was a story worth telling. Epilogue. 2 years later, I received a letter from Chaik. Prison mail, stamped and screened. I almost threw it away unopened. But curiosity, or maybe closure, made me read it. Amara, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I needed you to know that in the silence of this cell, I've finally understood what I destroyed. Not just money or a marriage, but a person. A brilliant, strong person who loved me and trusted me. The drugs they have me on now for depression, they make me understand what I did to you. The fog, the confusion, the loss of self. I live it every day. Maybe that's justice too. My son's name is Chukwemeka. God has done something great. Ifeoma's mother sends me photos sometimes. He has your eyes, somehow. Kind eyes. I hope he never knows what his father was capable of. You won. Not just in court, but in life. You became stronger while I became weaker. You turned your pain into power, while I let my greed turn me into a monster.
I'm sorry.
It's not enough, but it's all I have left to give. Chaik. I read it twice, then folded it carefully and placed it in a drawer. Not to treasure, but to remember. To remember what I'd overcome. To remember that even monsters were once human and that humanity was something that had to be chosen every single day. I chose it when I gathered evidence instead of getting revenge. I chose it when I followed the law instead of taking justice into my own hands. I chose it when I walked away from hate and toward healing. And I would keep choosing it every single day for the rest of my life. Because that was the difference between Chike and me. He chose to destroy. I chose to survive. And in the end, survival was the greatest victory of all.